Hi, my name is Alicia Lopez. I am 17 years old. I am traditionally homeschooled, and the name of my documentary is She, He, They. I was inspired by other people on social media who were sharing their stories and their experiences with their pronouns and trying to get people to respect their pronouns, and I wanted to help them share their stories. I hope what people take away from my documentary is the importance of respecting other people's pronouns, because even if they don't think it's so important, it is important to that person because that's part of their identity. My name is Alicia, and this is She, He, They, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Brianna Guerrero.
My name is Spencer Salazar.
I'm Kate.
I use they, them, theirs pronouns.
My pronouns are he, they.
My pronouns are he, him, and his.
I'm 23 years old.
I am 29 years old.
I'm 15, turning 16 in April.
Pronouns are what we use when we're not using names.
For example, I use he, him, and they, them. And then there's she, her. There are a lot of neopronouns.
Neopronouns are like ze, them.
Pronouns are important for a few reasons. Firstly, especially coming from the trans community, using someone's correct pronouns, and I say correct pronouns, not preferred, because preferred kind of means it's like a choice. Correct meaning more that it is who they are, it's not a question. It's a life-saving thing. It's a very simple act of kindness and respect.
Everybody has pronouns. So I know some people put their pronouns in their bio on social media, and when you see that, most people think, oh, they're trans or something like that. That's not always the case. Like there are some girls who are more masculine than other girls, and there are some boys who are more feminine, and they use those pronouns to, because even if you're cis, being misgendered can be hurtful.
It's not exclusive to the trans community. I educate folks on using their pronouns because we make assumptions. Even for some folks that are not trans, they may be misgendered because the way they dress or the way they present themselves. And so I think it's important to normalize this experience, especially for like gender neutral pronouns. A lot of pushback I get is, well, they, them, theirs is plural. And I always push back saying, well, when you don't know somebody, you say, hey, you see that person over there, what are they doing? You just did it. You did the singular they.
I finally started using they, them pronouns, and people started addressing me as them over there and only as Brianna. Because I also substitute my name for my pronouns too, so you can call me Bri instead of they. It felt right. It felt like my life was finally complete in some sense. Like I finally hit a milestone in some weird sense. It finally felt like I wasn't lost anymore. Like that's what it felt like, that I wasn't lost in the forest. Like I finally found my path in life. And that was an awesome feeling. And the thing about they, them, theirs pronouns, and I'm not sure if other non-binary people have experienced this, but like it was truly an experiment at first. But when I started enjoying that people were calling me they, them, that's when I was like, okay, then yeah, I'm non-binary. Like there's just no way I'm not.
Oh, it's so relieving because even when I knew something wasn't right, even when I knew, oh, I'm absolutely not female, it was hard for me to pinpoint which pronouns I was comfortable with. Because, at first you don't really let yourself think that way because you're like, nah, you have to be female because that's what you were taught. But, as time went on, I was just trying to figure out who I was. And when I finally was like, he, they, that's what I like, it's just so refreshing because, you know who you are at least a little more than you did before, and then people get to see you the same way, and you get to start changing yourself and making yourself more comfortable in who you are, and it's a nice process.
I I look as trans as it's kind of a funny thing. We talk about trans as like a huge umbrella. And for some folks, their umbrella is like a beach umbrella. It's big. And then some other people see trans as this tiny, singular little umbrella for one person. And so for me personally, I look as trans as the huge encompassing beach umbrella. Because to me, trans is you don't identify with your biological sex. And it not meaning that you have to go from one straight to the other side in that binary perspective. I look at trans as just simply you don't identify with your biological sex. So for me, non-binary is encompassed in the trans as well. But for a lot of folks, and this is where language is ever developing and growing within the community, so I can only speak from my personal experience, that most, not all, trans folks will, trans men or trans woman, you'll sometimes hear trans masculine, trans feminine, but non-binary essentially is encompassing of just not subscribing to the binary perspective of man and woman. And so it's a little bit more nuanced. It's a little bit more individualized. I have met many non-binary folk who they share the same identity, but they don't share the same understanding of that identity within themselves. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think even for binary trans people, that even for them, it means something very deeply personal.
It's almost like you get butterflies. Like when someone uses the right pronouns, it feels so nice and heartwarming, and this is like the first couple of times. Over time you get used to it and you don't get the same feeling. But well, actually sometimes I do, but not as much anymore. But before, whenever somebody would use the right pronouns, and I wasn't used to people using the right pronouns, I would just like, I could not stop smiling for the rest of the day, and I would get butterflies and be super happy.
In just one word, it's euphoria. It's that moment that people see you the way you see you. And I think that, it's euphoria. Hearing someone naturally say my pronouns, naturally say my name or whatever, it brings happiness and joy in that I can be this person, and that people aren't going to look at me like I'm crazy or I'm sick or something. They can just see me. I'm just another human being having a human experience, essentially.
Like I said, being a lot of people's firsts. So getting those questions like, why do you still look the way you do if you use they, them, theirs pronouns? Does this mean that you hate women? I've had a lot of people, very ignorant people, come up to me and just with the most mind-boggling questions that I'm just like, how is this any of your business?
But it's also really hard to be the one who has to teach everybody else. Like, I don't like having to be the one who has to teach cisheads when there's already a lot of information online and stuff like that. It's just, I feel like it's a lot of extra work on us.
Misgendering is basically calling somebody the wrong gender. It happens a lot, especially in the beginning, and it's really hard on your mental health because you're trying so hard to fit in, you're trying so hard to ascribe to these things that, the gender you are, and society's kind of there to remind you, hey, you're not. And that's really hard to navigate sometimes when you don't have that affirming corner. You don't have those people there to help you through, like, to make you feel better. It feels gross. Being misgendered doesn't feel good. For me, when it would happen, sometimes I would spiral. Like, okay, well, if they see me as a woman, I'll never be seen as a man. And then I'll never, like, is this true? Is this honest? It makes you doubt yourself, question yourself. it made me not want to go places, made me not want to do things, I didn't want to talk to people because I was scared. And I mean, I still have these moments where I'm like, well, are they going to see me as such? Like, you know, if, oh, I'm wearing a face mask because it's, you know, we can't, you know, COVID. And well, are they going to still think that I'm a guy because they can't see my face? I'm in, you know, are they going to find my hips? Are they going to think, oh, that's a woman's body? Or all these things, it just spirals into your thinking when people make those mistakes or just do it in a malicious way. It just is not good for the mental health when people do that.
If you know you misgendered somebody, I think the easiest way to do it is just correct yourself the next sentence and don't make a big deal out of it.
Very simple. Do not make a scene. Don't go, oh, I'm so sorry. I hate that. It really is as simple as if someone said she, you know, Spencer, she, it's just as simple as, oh, I'm so sorry, Spencer, he.
You could ask first instead of assuming. If you do know someone's pronouns and stuff, but it's taking you a while to get used to it, which is understandable. I know for me and a lot of my trans friends were really understanding with that. So, but when it takes you more than like 2 weeks, it just seems like you don't care enough. So I think that a way you can help yourself to remember is to practice.
Just keep saying them. Say their name, say their pronouns. Not around them, just do it, you know, like when you're at home. Just practice, you know, my name is Spencer, I use he, him pronouns. And I had to practice with myself to get comfortable doing it too. So it is a repetition thing because we have to remember, especially if they're not coming out till later, that people were used to a certain name and certain pronouns. And we have to give grace that it takes time to kind of rewire the brain. And so another thing I tell folks is if you're a reader, go grab a book. And every time you see a pronoun, change it. Especially for like the they, them, theirs. A lot of people struggle with that one. And that one's a lot of work because you kind of have to change some other things in the sentence sometimes. But if you practice it, it becomes natural. And I think it's important that we educate kind of on here's an introductory level of what these terms mean. But if you have the space and you have the people and you have the respect to learn more, take the time to figure out what it means individually to that person, because everyone has their own story and each story is beautiful.